Welcome back. Today, we will talk about a topic that is not easy to hear: the darkness within the human psyche. Because there are times when a person does more than inflict harm, they become destruction itself. When a narcissist loses their conscience, when they abandon all moral boundaries and let darkness take over, they have crossed the boundary of humanity. In truth, evil is not an abstract concept. It lives inside people, seduces them with a sense of power, making them believe they are above all standards. And above all, the narcissist is the perfect host for darkness, for they exist by lies, manipulation, and the need for absolute control. And then, ask yourself, have you ever encountered someone who, as soon as they enter a room, makes the air feel thick, the light seem dimmer, and the entire space become inexplicably heavy? Someone who, with just a look, can drain the energy of those around them, leaving you feeling small, confused, and wondering why. That is not simply a mean person. That is a soul possessed by darkness, someone who feeds on the pain of others and feels powerful when they see others fall. And the cruel truth is, once they have gone too far, they never return. You cannot love them enough to change them. They do not need love, they need power. They choose destruction over healing, domination over connection. So, in today's video, I want to share with you 4 clear signs that a narcissist has completely surrendered their soul to darkness. And if you recognize even one of them, walk away, because your peace is worth more than any power play they might make. First sign, they revel in the suffering of others. When a narcissist sinks deep into darkness, the pain of others becomes the very fuel that sustains them. It sounds brutal, but in fact, it is one of the clearest manifestations that they have severed all connection with their own humanity. To them, emotions are no longer for understanding or sharing, they are tools for manipulation, a chessboard on which they control every reaction, every tear, every crack in another person's heart. At first, this sign is hard to detect. They still know how to feign empathy, to nod, to offer comfort, even to shed tears when someone is hurting. But if you pay close attention, you'll notice something cold in their eyes, a thin metallic gleam that reflects others' pain without ever touching their heart. Then, gradually, that mask slips. They begin to reveal faint smiles when someone stumbles, a fleeting smirk when you are wounded, or an oddly intent gaze when witnessing another's collapse. And you suddenly realize they are not merely observing pain, they are savoring it. To them, the suffering of others is like electricity powering their ego. Every time they make someone cry, lose confidence, or doubt themselves, they feel stronger, loftier, more alive than ever. Like a warped artist who derives pleasure from destruction, they do not create happiness, they create shattering, simply to watch the response, simply to feel that rush of power when the other person falls. And the terrifying truth is, they do this not out of anger, not because you hurt them, not because of conflict. They do it simply because they desire to. In their twisted inner world, causing others to suffer is a way to affirm their own existence. When you are in pain, they win. When you silently endure, they feel above you. When you beg, they see themselves as the chosen one. You see, for ordinary people, witnessing another's agony evokes compassion. But for a narcissist who has descended into darkness, empathy is something they buried long ago. In their mind, love is weakness, kindness is vulnerability, and another's suffering is proof of their own might. They do not need to strike overtly to conquer you, merely need to collapse in silence. What confuses many is that they can hurt you and then feign love. They might comfort you with one hand while the other quietly digs into the wound they inflicted. They can smile gently as their eyes brim with hidden delight. And if you have ever seen them stand by silently as someone else crumbles, no help, no reaction, just watching, believe me, that moment says it all. For in their world, pain is the unit by which power is measured. Every tear is a victory, every wounded soul a tally added to an ever-expanding scoreboard of the self. They do not know how to love, but they know how to make you love them so much that you forget yourself. They do not know how to share, but they know how to coax every ounce of your heart out only to crush it in their own hands. And the greatest tragedy is they do this not only to enemies, but to those who love them truly. For in their view, love is not meant to unite but to control, not to nourish but to consume. To them, love is not a gift, it is a resource, a fuel that keeps them alive. This is why you feel utterly drained around them, because every bit of your energy, every drop of your emotion, every shred of your trust is siphoned away. And when you suffer, when you fall, they experience a grotesque serenity. They do not live by feelings, they live by the reactions of others. And the moment you cease to react, the moment you stop suffering for their sake, that is when their power begins to crumble. Sign number 2. They lie to the point of believing their own words. And then, when the thrill of causing others pain is no longer enough, they take an even deeper step into darkness. They begin to warp the truth, not only to deceive others, but to deceive themselves. At this stage, they are no longer merely inflictors of harm. They become manipulators of reality. At first, their lies sound like artfully told stories. A little exaggeration here, a few details added there, a clever evasion to dodge responsibility. But over time, those stories swell, becoming so intricate and flawless that even they come to believe them. For a narcissist, the truth matters less than their version of the truth, whichever version benefits their image. Notice this: when they are caught red-handed, they feel neither embarrassed nor ashamed. They look you straight in the eye, their tone calm, their gaze confident, and say, "I did not do that." Even if you have proof, even if you know they are lying, they speak as though they absolutely believe their own statement. And it is that warped belief that makes others begin to doubt their own perceptions. They erase the past as easily as wiping a line in the sand. They rewrite everything in a way that favors them, every story, every relationship, every memory. They can make you believe that you were the one in the wrong, the one imagining things, the one unstable. This is the most sophisticated form of gaslighting, where the liar manipulates not only you but even their own memory. A normal person who lies will feel guilt, anxiety, or fear of being discovered. But for a narcissist, lying is a survival instinct. They lie not to hide, but to control. They construct a private world where they are the victim, the hero, the one who is always right. They act out that role so convincingly that many around them, even they themselves, can no longer distinguish what is real from what is false. The most terrifying part is this: the more people believe them, the bolder they become. Each time they escape consequences, they push the boundary further. They may spin completely absurd tales that seem impossible to believe, but with their cold confidence, they make others waver. And once you begin to doubt your own memory, your own feelings, they have already won. Imagine standing in a dark room with only a single small candle. Each lie they tell is a gentle gust of wind blowing against that flame. At first, it merely flickers, but then each breath, each deniable statement, each denial itself, your inner light gradually goes out. And when it is gone, you can no longer tell what is real and what is illusion. At this level, a narcissist does more than manipulate emotions, they manipulate reality itself. They blur the line between right and wrong, drawing everyone around them into a labyrinth where every path leads back to them. And once they have reached that point, you are no longer facing merely a person with a character flaw. You are facing a mind that has severed its connection to truth, a soul living in the illusion it has created. Therefore, if you notice someone constantly changing their story, always playing the victim, always making you feel guilty though you have done nothing wrong, stop. Because you are not arguing with reason. You are conversing with the mirage a narcissist has erected to keep you trapped in their web. The third sign: they hate goodness and scorn kindness. And then, when the darkness within them has taken root too deeply, the narcissist begins to reveal the most terrifying manifestation of all. They hate goodness and scorn kindness. At this stage, they no longer merely manipulate or lie, they rebel against every humane principle. As if light itself blinds them, kindness makes them uncomfortable, compassion makes them furious. In their warped world, goodness is not a strength but a weakness to be crushed. Notice this: When you show mercy, they sneer. When you forgive, they call you foolish. When you help others, they accuse you of being fake. To them, every charitable act is a mirror exposing the emptiness inside. What they fear is not that you are too good, but that the light within you reveals the darkness within them. So they seek to muddy pure souls. If you believe in sincerity, they plant doubt. If you believe in love, they make you fear it. They turn sweetness into weakness, generosity into something to exploit. Bit by bit, they make you question your own benevolent nature. And when you begin to grow hardened, cold, and suspicious, they smile, for they have won. In their eyes, kindness is the most dangerous enemy, because it is something they cannot control or indefinitely fake. They may learn to mimic compassion, but sooner or later, that mask falls away. And when it does, instead of changing, they choose to destroy those who still believe in goodness. Like a blind person who hates the light, they attack all that is pure simply because they cannot bear its existence. The frightening thing is they do not reserve this for strangers alone. Sometimes, those closest to them, those who love them sincerely, become the most wounded targets. They drown others' kindness in ridicule, and when they see someone persist in being kind, they are even more determined to drag that person down with them. For in their world, benevolence is a silent indictment. When you realize someone always despises the kind-hearted, always mocks compassion, always seeks to make you feel naive for believing in good stop. This is more than a personality difference. This is a soul possessed by darkness, someone no longer capable of being moved by beauty or goodness. And the cruel truth is, you cannot change them. You can only walk away, preserve the light within yourself, and refuse to let them convince you that kindness is wrong. For in a world filled with hurt, compassion remains the final lamp, and it is precisely that which they can never touch. The fourth sign, they drain the emotional energy of others. Finally, when the three masks above have fallen, we arrive at the last sign, they drain the emotional energy of others. If the first three signs show how they manipulate, mock, and attack what is good, this is the ultimate consequence, the survival mechanism of a soul swallowed by darkness. They live off the suffering energy of others. At first, you may not notice. They approach you with caring eyes, a warm voice, an understanding that makes you believe you have found a soulmate. But then, inexplicably, after every conversation, you feel exhausted, hollow, as if someone has siphoned all your life force without touching you. That is them, the emotional parasites masquerading as human beings. They do not need to shout or strike. Sometimes, by deliberate silence alone, they make you feel guilty for your own emotions. They know exactly when to be gentle to open your heart, and when to be cold to leave you confused. Every reaction of yours, every tear, every fear, becomes fuel for them, a source of energy that sustains their power and control. Imagine entering a room so thick with tension you can hardly breathe. A person sits there, saying nothing, yet you can feel the heavy energy surrounding them. That is what it feels like to be near a narcissist who has utterly shed their humanity. Their presence alone is enough to scramble your mind, shatter your emotions, and dull your reason. They manipulate not only with words but with energy, a force they conduct like a sinister puppeteer. And the terrifying part is, they do this consciously. They know when you are about to pull away, so they suddenly turn on more kindness, more attention, saying things that make you believe maybe they have changed. But that is their final ruse to keep you from escaping. They need your pain because your suffering makes them feel powerful. They need your weakness because your frailty makes them feel strong. They need your turmoil because when your mind is in chaos, they can control you more easily. Some call it negative energy, but in truth, it is a form of psychological invasion. They make you doubt yourself, make you feel perpetually wrong, perpetually inadequate, always scrambling to earn their love. Gradually, you lose your sense of self, your inner voice, your inherent peace. You begin to live in their world, a world where they are the center, and you are merely a shadow. And when you are utterly drained, They move on to a new energy source, someone else to repeat the same cycle. No apologies, no remorse. To them, others are mere containers of emotion to be filled, to be emptied, then discarded. So if you recognize that you always feel tired after meeting someone, if you find your mind distorted and your emotions hijacked, step back. It is not that you are weak, it is that you are being drained by someone who no longer knows what love is. And the bravest thing you can do is not to try to save them, but to protect yourself. Remember, kindness should not be turned into fuel for darkness. Sometimes, silence, walking away, and living in peace, that is the wisest and most compassionate act. And then, once they have drained every last ounce of energy around them, only emptiness, coldness, and cruelty remain. In that moment, you will understand they are no longer the person you once knew. What you see now is only the shell of a soul wholly claimed by darkness. And it is here that you must make a choice: remain and lose yourself, or step away to reclaim the light. Once a narcissist has fully surrendered to darkness, there is no turning back. You cannot use love to change them, nor reason to awaken them. For in their world, love is a tool, faith is prey, and compassion is a gateway for them to invade you all over again. Every time you strive to heal them, you are merely feeding the very darkness that is draining you day by day. Therefore, if you are about to love, to live alongside, or to begin a friendship with someone showing these signs, proceed with great caution. Do not let their initial charm deceive you. Listen to how you feel after each encounter with them. If you find yourself shrinking, exhausted, or disoriented, that is your warning. Kindness is precious, but it is only safe when offered to one who values it. And if you are already in a relationship with such a person, know this: you are not weak. You are simply exhausted from loving too much. Do not blame yourself for believing. Narcissists are masters at making you doubt yourself, at convincing you that every fault is yours alone. But the truth is, you cannot save someone who does not wish to be saved. And this is not failure, it is the limit of compassion. Rather than stay in the darkness to prove your strength, choose to leave to prove your wisdom. Do not react, do not argue, do not try to teach them. Your silence and serenity are the light they cannot bear. When you stop playing their game, their power dissolves. And one day, you will look back no longer trembling, no longer resentful, only the stillness of one who has emerged from the storm. The weariness will vanish, your mind will clear, and you will realize what they called power was in truth only desperate weakness masked by arrogance. Remember, darkness only wins when the light forgets that it can shine. So do not fight them, step away from them. Do not seek revenge, seek peace. Do not prove anything, live well. For when you choose to preserve your peace, your compassion, and your clarity, you not only escape them, you escape the darkness.